Welcome back to my channel. Today I am super stoked because we're going to be talking to my star Low Content Profits Academy student, Janice Papworth, who, since starting her self-publishing journey, has become a wildly successful six-figure publisher, including having a year-round bestseller that's accumulated over 4,000 reviews, as well as 10 books that have sold over 1,000 copies each, and many, many more that sell consistently on a regular basis. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with Low Content Profits Academy, this is the online course that I created that teaches people how to start generating passive income, creating and selling low content books such as journals, planners, coloring books, activity books, and more on the Kindle Direct Publishing platform. If you want to find out more about how to get started with low content publishing, download my free guide, 3 Steps to Publishing Your First Low Content Book in Less Than a Day, by clicking the link down in the description below. You're also invited to attend my free masterclass, 3 Secrets to a Wildly Successful Low Content Publishing Business, also linked to down below. You'll also learn more about my program, Low Content Profits Academy, inside that masterclass, so be sure to attend if that's something you're interested in. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit the bell so you can be notified the next time I come out with a brand new video. Okay, let's dive into our conversation with Janice. She is going to walk us through how many books are currently in her catalog, how many of them are actually selling, how long it took her to start seeing consistent revenue come through the door, what her research process entails, her promotion strategy, any advice she would want to give to anyone just starting out on their low content publishing journey, and a whole lot more. So let's go ahead and get to it. Well, hello, Janice. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to talk to you. Why don't we just jump right into it and just tell us, when and how you got started publishing low content books.
Well, hello, Rachel. I'm delighted to be talking to you because you're one of my gurus that I follow and cling on to every word. So it's like talking to a celebrity for me.
Oh, God.
But, I started to, I know, but I've learned loads from you. I started publishing in October 2018. So I was quite lucky because, of course, I was already in Q4 when I started publishing. And I came from the merch route, which I know a lot of people have come from. But I also thought it was important to learn from people who were doing the publishing side of things and not people who'd come from the merch route.
Right. So did you find this quite a bit different than the merch route? I haven't done any merch myself, so I don't really have any experience there. Is the gist of it kind of the same, or is it a completely different business model or way of doing things?
Well, I was hoping to reuse some of the images for book covers. But merch, you see, you're just uploading the one image, aren't you? And you're not doing the interiors of the books. And the listings, some of that is transferable, the SEO skills. But with merch, you don't get the 7 back-end keywords or the categories. You just get the title and the description, basically.
And is there something that made you want to try out books? Was it strictly like, oh, this sounds like another interesting business model, or is there a little bit more to it than that made you interested trying out KDP?
I think 2 things. First of all, there's an awful lot of piracy in the merch world. People are stealing your designs all the time, and it's much harder for them to steal the book interiors if you're making them unique to you. Secondly, I think you should have more than one stream of income. So if you've got, I learned this off another guru, but if you've got a stool with 3 legs, if you've got 3 streams of income and one of them fails, then you've still got the other 2 legs for the stool to stand on. And what worries me slightly is that you're in Amazon's ballpark, aren't you? You're Amazon's sandpit. So that, you're abiding by their rules and they can do anything. They can close your account if they don't, if they think you're one of the bad guys, which I'm not, obviously. But there's always that slight feeling of insecurity.
Right. Okay. So how many books have you published so far?
I've got just over 1,600 books. And I think that's because at the beginning, I thought it was more of a numbers game and was trying to publish 5 a day. So I'd make an interior and then make 5 different covers. But now I'm going more to the quality rather than quantity route. I haven't got many hardbacks. Have you found that hardbacks are selling for you?
I don't have many as well either. Definitely paperback sells quite a lot more. I think, price point is probably the biggest reason there. And hardcovers just make more sense, I think, with certain types of books.
Yeah, because we haven't got the guest book in hardcovers yet, have we?
Depending on the size, but the size that I would normally use for a guest book, I don't think is available in hardcover just yet. That landscape one. Yeah. So, okay, you've got 1,600 books. How many of those books are generating sales? I know, people want to know, well, I want to know too. Usually I have found from experience that 80-20 rule is in play, where 80% of your earnings generally come from only 20% of your books. Have you found that to be true for yourself?
I did actually go through to see how many had sold, and I had 1,000 that sold out the 1,600. So that's about 60%, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's quite good. And what about in terms of just monthly revenue? Because I think it's similar to me, where it was about half of my books that have sold, but when I look at where the consistent revenue is coming from, it's really only like a smaller, probably less than 20%, making up the 80% of all of the earnings.
So I've got one hero book that makes up 50% of my earnings. Yeah, I'm very lucky with that book, really, and I guard it preciously.
I imagine so. Yeah.
Do you have a sort of hero product as well?
Yes. Definitely. I had one at one point that probably was similar to you, probably making about 50%, and then I had another core, maybe like 8 or 10 books that were kind of making up another, I don't know, 25%, and then sort of the rest of that half was kind of making up the rest. That's generally what I tend to see across the board when I ask anyone who's starting to build a significant catalog of books.
The trouble is, you don't know when you upload the books which ones are going to be those 10 books that are going to make you the money. And obviously books are seasonal because they're books that are going to drop off. They're 2020 graduation books or something, and they're not going to sell again in the years to come, are they?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes you never know. Sometimes you get a good feeling about a book and it flops. And then another time, the one that I was just talking about, that was my hero book for quite some time. I put that together in probably under 5 minutes, and, really didn't. It was kind of just on a whim. So yeah, you're right. Sometimes you just don't know which ones are going to take off and which ones aren't.
Could you build on your hero book and make others to go alongside it? Or
yes, and I did do that. So I ended up creating kind of a series. It was basically a particular quote I had on the front, and then a particular style, and then I carried that across a number of other books as well. Okay, so how many author names do you publish under?
Well, I counted them up, and I've used about 50.
Wow. But how many are you? Hey, it's great to experiment. I haven't experimented that extensively, but I've definitely probably experimented with at least 10. But then usually there's just a core 2 or 3 that.
When I started out, you could use keywords as author names, and now of course you're not allowed to do that. But I do like to have a different author name for each niche. So if I'm doing, I don't know, a kids niche, I'll have a different name to an adult's niche, and I tend to pick them related to that niche. In my head they're related anyway. I had a book that was watery. I had a series of books that related to a water sort of hobby, and I picked a name that meant brook or something in Scottish to call it that. Then I knew what they were in my head, but I wouldn't then use that water name for a different niche. I wouldn't use it for the teacher niche or something like that.
Right. So do you have a core few that you tend to publish under regularly now?
Yeah, I would say till 10 probably.
10, okay. And do you find it hard to manage that many?
Not really, no, because in my mind they're associated with the niche.
Right, okay. So I'm guessing then you're not building out like full-blown brands for each of those author names.
No, my main hero image, I've got 4 books under that author name, and I have got that on Author Central, and I've got a web page now and that sort of thing, but I haven't obviously got author central pages for all of my authors.
Right.
I've only got 3 or 4. I don't think it's worth it until they're selling a decent amount. If they're going to sell one a week or one a month, I don't put the effort into that. It's a bit chicken and egg, isn't it? I don't put the effort into them until they start selling.
And I think that's the right way to go. Otherwise you don't want to be beating a dead horse, or, putting the cart before the horse, or insert whatever other random saying here. But yeah, I tend to do the same thing, especially in the beginning when I was experimenting a lot. It was, okay, let's just find something that works. And then when something starts to gain traction, okay, now I'm going to double down on that. And now I'll, build the author page, or, whatever else, a logo, whatnot. But I think it's right, especially in the beginning when you're experimenting. You don't want to waste too much time. You just want to kind of get something going. And then when it does, then you can double down with your efforts in that one particular area.
Yes, I think once the book starts selling and it's going well, then you've got to put the effort behind it to keep that momentum or increase that momentum. You've got to nurture it in some way. You can't just set it and forget it.
Right.
So it's not wholly passive in that aspect, is it?
Right.
But it is passive because you're making money while you're asleep and on holiday and that sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. So how long did it start before you started experiencing consistent monthly sales?
I was incredibly lucky because I started in the October, and because I was ahead of the game with the merch people. They didn't start till the sort of January after me. I started making money pretty much straight away. So the first month I only made £2. I'm in the UK. The second month I made £200, and the third month I passed the 1,000. And then I consistently have been above that. I dropped in January and February, and then I went over the 1,000 and stayed there.
That's amazing.
So it was pretty good. I was aiming to make 1,000 from the t-shirts and 1,000. I thought if I make 1,000 from the books, that'll be fine. That's a reasonable that's a UK kind of average salary, I think 24,000, but I do make a lot more than that. And then I had to mentally move away from the t-shirts because I thought, well, I can't put my efforts 50-50 because the money's obviously coming in from the books. But I was kind of in love with the t-shirts, and I kept selling, I was like, oh, I really want to do t-shirts today, but I ought to be doing books. But now I've, wised up a bit more.
Well, I'm sure it was easy once the money started flooding through the door. It was probably a lot easier to make that decision once that really got going.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you decide what niches that you want to pursue? Do you have a bit of a system and a way of finding? And on that note, maybe you could just walk us through your process for, research, creation, and publishing.
So I don't think there's any harm in being first to market with things because there's no cost of trying things out. And so I tend to avoid the obvious. I tend to avoid the lined paper and the graph books and the planners. And I'll try and give people something they need to solve a problem, or something they need to give as a gift, or something related to a hobby. So I watch my local news, which is quite interesting because I'm lucky to live in a low crime area, but I see what people are doing for hobbies. Or like yesterday, I saw a man paragliding. So do the paragliders need some sort of checklist for their equipment? I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but that's the sort of thing I would look into.
That's such a great tip, because I think we all just sometimes get so, we don't get off of Amazon. We're just seeing what is everyone else doing. And, sometimes that can lead to success if you kind of pivot and make it your own. But that is such a wonderful tip, to just get off of Amazon and look around at the people around you and what they're doing and think about it that way. That's very useful.
There was a lady in my village I saw today with a beekeeping outfit on. So do beekeepers need anything special? So I'd probably go and have a look at a beekeeper site and see if they've got any records there. But I would also try and add value. So if I created a book that had the records in for the beekeeper, I would then try and add in beekeeping tips for a beginner or something like that. I would do my research and write them up myself and put in a couple of extra pages so that the book was a bit extra than what other people are offering.
Yeah, that's a great point as well. I mean, you've got to have some value add in there. Otherwise, what makes your book stand out against the 2,000 similar books?
Yeah, that's what I try and do. And then I would probably make five-ish covers. I think you said 10 in the course. I sometimes get bored before 10 and go off and do something else.
5's totally reasonable. I mean, I would say, up to maybe 10, or I know I've done up to 20 different covers, depending on the type of book, because, obviously it doesn't suit, you don't want to reuse your interior with certain books. It only makes sense with some, but, 5 is definitely a good amount.
I think if you can over deliver it, it's good, because the reviews are so important. If you can spend a couple of days doing a book and then somebody slates it with a 1-star review, and then you've had it, it's not going to sell. You've wasted your time. But if you give them a bit more than they're expecting,
yes,
then hopefully you'll get the good reviews.
Yeah, exactly. So do you have any strategy for post-publication?
I do Amazon ads. So I have a lottery ad where I put everything in. And then if it starts to sell, then I might give it its own little ad sequence. And then I'll start harvesting keywords from the auto ads to create testing ads, broad, and performance ads, exact keywords. But I don't have that on a lot of books, maybe 5 or 10. If it's the sort of book that could go into Kindle, a few of them are, then I will do a free promotion for a few days and then promote that through Free Booksy. And I do add it to the categories and that if it sells. And the other thing I sometimes do is I target my competitors with ads, because if you can get your book to sell, if it's the sort of book that where they would buy more than one. So for example, if you go back to the beekeeper book, supposing it's a journal about beehives, and then I would advertise it against books that are about beekeeping, hoping that they will buy the book about the beekeeping and the journal. And then what will happen is, because the 2 books are selling together, Amazon will start suggesting it in the auto boards.
Right.
And you get kind of like free advertising then for your book against the other books. People are buying more than one thing at a time.
That's such a great idea. Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic, because you're right. I mean, if someone's shopping for the one thing and you're not, your book isn't in competition with that book, it's just like a perfect complement to it. So that must, I'm assuming you found that to be successful and effective.
I think it's worth a try. I mean, when we got into lockdown, the first one in the UK, everybody was making sourdough. And I made some books where you monitored your sourdough recipe and what you put in it and how you looked after your starter. And then everybody jumped on the bandwagon and came along with me. But I was advertising it against the bread baskets that you needed to buy to prove the sourdough, and the little paddle thing you need to get it in the oven. I was making sourdough myself, so I knew what was needed. And they did sell. I mean, they stopped selling because other people saw that they were selling, and then they made their own versions, which is annoying. But if you can get there first and get the reviews first, and then Amazon's suggesting that every time somebody buys the little bread basket, they have a little logbook to track their sourdough starter, that really does help your sales. I mean, it falls off. It can fall off. It depends what the niche is, I suppose.
Wow, that's very cool. I like that.
It doesn't even have to be books that you're advertising against, does it? It can be other products on Amazon.
Right. So are ads your main promotional strategy, or are there any other methods that you like to use as well?
Yeah, I think ads are my main promotion strategy, really. I've got a lottery ad as well. So a lottery ad is an ad where you decide how much you're spending per day, but you put every single book into it and put it on auto on very low bids. And what that does is it picks up the bids late at night when other people who are advertising have run out of money.
Okay, that's
interesting. So you get very low cost of your clicks, very low cost of your for your ads, and they tend to be profitable. And then you can see which books are selling, but also sometimes books sell that haven't sold for ages. You'll suddenly think, goodness me, why they thought that? I wouldn't have thought of advertising that now, but it's just sold. And so that obviously gives it a kick up the BSR. It's great, doesn't it?
Yeah. I love that. That's great. That's very cool. Okay, so you're a Low Content Profits Academy student. Were there any parts of the program that you found the most helpful for you, especially because you are already an established seller coming to this? So you already had, kind of a baseline of knowledge.
Bits I really found useful were the keyword research, because I was doing it, but I wasn't doing it thoroughly. And I didn't really know what I was looking for in Publisher Rocket, because I do use Publisher Rocket extensively, really. And the other bit was how to write up the descriptions about solving the problem and what to put in the description to persuade people to buy. I'm not a copywriter. I'm not an expert in that sort of thing. So that was very helpful as well.
Wonderful.
I like the over the shoulder as well, because it really made sense. You can listen and I take notes, but then when you actually see somebody do it, and I worked along with you. So I had you on one screen, like do this, and then I'd be like pause, and then I'd be doing it on mine, and then I'd be like play Rachel again. And it would sometimes take me like 2 days to get through a 45-minute over the shoulder thing. Well, I was like, what was that? And then I'd be winding back and checking it again. And
no, I'm the same way. I mean, that's the main reason why I did the videos, because I know how I personally need to learn. If I'm not, it's like you said, you can see it and watch it and kind of understand it from that sort of surface level. But until you kind of roll up your own sleeves and get in there, for me anyways, it's like I definitely learn by doing. And, like you said, those videos are 45 minutes long, but there are certain parts where I think I mentioned like, okay, I'm just going to cut through to the end here, because if I just keep recording while I go down every one of these keywords, we're going to be here for another 2 hours. So don't feel bad if it took you several extra hours to get through it, because I probably did on my end as well when I was actually doing it.
And I talked back to you, Rich, but you didn't answer. That was a shame. But you did do some lives as well, and they were fantastic because we could answer our questions.
Right. Yeah, that's always helpful.
And you did reviews of other people's books, which I really found valuable, because their book would come up and I would think, oh, I think this about it. Does Rachel agree or not? And then you come up with, and then it'd be something else. And that's a full learning process.
Yeah, definitely. I should start doing those again. Those are definitely useful.
Do you enjoy doing those?
I do, because I've got my design background. So I've always got that critiquing mindset kind of is always on. So, it bothers people. So I'll be like out at a restaurant looking at the menu and I'll be like critiquing the design of the menu, which I think can be annoying to some people, but I kind of pick and choose who I do it around now.
Do you think I've missed a trick with the post-promotion strategy, just doing the ads?
I don't think so. I think that's probably going to be the most effective one. Your foundation is in place. You've got, your keyword strategy is there, your design is good. And then I think once you start selling, making sales, then if you want to introduce ads, that's the way to amplify sales that you're already getting. So I think you're doing the right things there. I think that's probably going to be the most effective way to keep the momentum moving. Regarding tools, are there any specific tools that you like to use?
Well, we've mentioned Publisher Rocket. I do use that. I use Canva to do all my designing. I can't cope with Affinity. I've really tried. There was a lot of swearing. I just couldn't do it. I sometimes edit vectors in there, but I'm just like phew when it works. And then I get them over to Canva as fast as possible.
Yeah, well, I think, it's important to, if you find something that you kind of gel with, then you stick with that.
I use the free Helium 10 extension to check out the books on Amazon, the selling and the BSRs and the pricing. And I do use deposit photos as well for graphics.
Great.
Creative Fabrica, but that's not really a tool, is it? That's just a resource.
Yeah.
I think you have to be really careful on Creative Fabrica now, because they're publishing KDP interiors on there, and a lot of them are just complete rubbish. Plus, how can you get a colouring book interior from Creative Fabrica and put it onto KDP? You can't, because everybody's doing the same. So those sort of books have got to be unique. You can't get interiors like that from Creative Fabrica.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely don't recommend using templated interiors unless you've heavily customized them. So it's definitely something to watch out for.
I do buy templated interiors sometimes, but I get them in Canva templates, and then I change them up, change the fonts, sometimes I change the images, that sort of thing, until I make them my own. I add in pages.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So let's talk about pricing for a second. Do you have any particular strategy when it comes to pricing your books? Or are you generally just looking at what the market is doing and then kind of, are you pricing a little bit more expensive, a little bit less expensive?
I think I'm pricing to market. My hero book, I did drop the price by £1 in the UK because it made it £4.99, which was under £5. And I've noticed that when you're looking for keywords, a lot of times people are searching for under $10 or under $5. And you're not allowed to put that in your back end keywords. I thought you might be able to, but I don't think Amazon says you're not now.
Right.
But if people are looking for things that are under $5, under $10, I think Amazon are very clever, and they're going to know the price and whether or not to show your book to that person. So sometimes I try and hit that under £5, under where you can't do under $5 very easily, or under $10 mark, in order to get into that batch when people search. And particularly as people are finding, I mean, I don't know about Canada and the US, but in the UK certainly, there's a bit of a cost of living crisis at the moment. And come Christmas, people will be searching for things under £5.
Right. Yes. Yeah. No, I've never considered that before. So that's an interesting point. Why do you think that you've been so successful with low content publishing? Because you've been hugely successful over the past few years. What do you chalk that up to?
I've tried to keep learning all the time. I try to pick the right people to learn from. And of course, you are one of them. But I do try to take a new course and keep going. So I challenge myself and I stick at it until I get lucky. I don't give up too easily. I try something else, or I think, why is that not working? Or even if I can get help in any respect. So like when you're doing the lives, I could say, why isn't this, what do you think about this? And then you change it up, don't you? You change the cover, or you've got to try things and see what works in order to learn. So for example, with the ads, I think if you don't get the clicks, then your cover is wrong. You change your cover. If you get the clicks but they don't buy, then your description is probably wrong, and you need to change your description. So if you spent a long time making a book and you really believe in it, then I think it's worth tweaking it to see if you can get it to sell. But I do think it's also worth learning. So I do Pinterest, for example. I took a Pinterest course at the beginning of this year, and now I'm making some pins for my books as well. So I do try and do different things.
Yeah, I think you've really nailed the nail on the head there with just keeping on learning. And I like how, when something's not working, you assess, well, what is it? Is it they're not getting the clicks? Okay, then we'll change the cover. But if it is getting the clicks but not selling, okay, what could that be? And sort of taking that systematic approach and changing up one thing at a time. I think that's definitely the right way to do things. That's fantastic. So, okay, now that you've made such a success, how has that impacted your life? Like what is life like for you now that you've got all of this amazing KDP income rolling through the door?
It's really good, actually. It's just fantastic to be able to put something back into the family to help my student-y sons, and to sort of have a few little luxuries in life. But it's also reassuring to know that we haven't just got, like, my husband's stream of income, there's other money coming in as well. My husband's semi-retired, so that's pretty good, really. It's just remarkable. I can't quite believe it myself. I mean, when you've got books that are very high in the Amazon charts, at Christmas, I do have my hero books very high in the Amazon charts. It's almost unbelievable. It's laughable, really. I just can't believe it myself. I'm like, come here and have a look at this. Can you believe this? I've got this. If you sell a lot, you get into the Christmas gift guide on Amazon. You get the little, not just the bestseller banner, but you get the little Christmas gift guide banner, and you get featured. Amazon want more sales, like we want more sales, and they will help you. Once you can get the ball rolling, it just takes off, and then the income's just incredible. I used to hear you and Kelly Roberts talk about having a 6-figure income with KDP, and I thought, well, if I could make half of that, I'd be happy. They've done so well, and here I am, and I'm making 6 figures too, and it's just incredible.
It's amazing. Nothing lights up my face more than hearing that. I just absolutely love it. That's so fantastic. So I know that 2022 is kind of half over by now, but what are your low content publishing goals for the end of 2022 and beyond into next year?
My main thing is to learn and to keep on learning. I've taken a bit of a back seat from low content publishing. I've started a new blog, which is taking up my time. But the aim is really to use the blog to drive traffic to the books and to some other things that I've got going. So I'm sort of going at that. But I know that once we hit October, once we hit Q4, I'm going to have to be on it with my ads, because I spend a lot of money on advertising, and I have to check them daily to make sure they're profitable, or I lose money.
Right. Yeah.
So that takes up a fair bit of my time. And I also monitor some of my BSRs as well during Q4, because that delay isn't there between selling and getting the sales reported when they ship. And also remembering to turn your ads down pretty fast the minute you hit the shipping date. So Q4 really is busy.
Right.
And I've also seen, I don't know if you've done this, Rachel, but I've seen traditional publishers are having a lot of luck with TikTok. And I think I'm probably too old for TikTok, but I'd love to know how to do it without having to actually appear and then think, what is this woman doing on here?
Well, I'm one of our other Low Content Profits Academy students, and she's a little bit older as well. She's doing TikTok and having some success there. So I'll have to try and get some information, because I have not used TikTok myself. I'm just, trying to maintain the platforms I've got going without introducing anything new at the moment. But I've definitely heard of some people having some success on TikTok. So that'd be interesting to see where that goes.
Trademark pending as well, so I'm hoping that's going to go through very soon.
Oh, fantastic. Cool. All right, so final question here. What advice do you have for anyone that's just starting out with low content publishing now, or maybe they've been at it for a little while and they're just struggling a little bit, trying to gain some traction? What advice do you have for anyone in those two camps?
I would say, first of all, you've got to try and stand out and to be different, to be better than the books that are already out there, to be the best in that niche or the best in that market. Secondly, I think about solving a problem for people, either a problem in their lives or a problem they've got with, say, gift giving. Thirdly, to keep learning, but pick your gurus carefully, because not everyone knows what they're talking about. Sometimes I listen to people and think, that's a load of rubbish. They just do not know what they're talking about. And fourthly, I would say to actually put into practice what advice you get from the courses and the gurus, because a lot of people buy courses and then just don't do them. So you've got to really focus on one thing, to focus on taking that course, the Low Contents Profit Academy course, for example, and working alongside it and taking it stage by stage, not just listen to it all in 2 days and think, I know it all now, but just to put it into practice as you go through, so that it really cements the learning into your kind of, and you sometimes have to listen to it more than once, because there's quite a lot of information there, and you can do it for one book, and then when you get to the second book you think, gosh, how did that go again? I better go back and check. So it's about, some of it's about attention to detail there, really, but not to follow the herd, really. It's just seeing what's selling on Amazon and then making another version isn't going to cut it. You've got to be first to market. You've got to offer something different, something better.
Wonderful advice. Thank you so much, Janice. It's been so wonderful talking to you and hearing about your success. And I know people are going to find a lot of value from everything that we've talked about today. So thanks again.
Well, I'm so happy to be able to sort of help you, Rachel, or help other people, because I've been helped by so many people along the way, and you've helped me loads. So thank you ever so much.
Wonderful. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope you got a ton of useful information from my chat with Janice. If you want to find out more about how to get started with low content publishing, download my free guide, 3 Steps to Publishing Your First Low Content Book in Less Than a Day, by clicking the link in the description below. You're also welcome to attend my free masterclass, 3 Secrets to a Wildly Successful Low Content Publishing Business, also linked to below. Inside that masterclass, you're going to learn the 4 things you must do before creating your low content book, the 5-step formula for writing a book description that sells, the 3 mindset musts for low content publishing success, and you'll also learn more about my paid program, the program that Janice is a student of, Low Content Profits Academy. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with anyone you think might find it helpful. And for another low content publishing success story, check out this video next to see how another one of my star Low Content Profits Academy students is making $5K a month on KDP with no ads. All right, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.